Okay, this is incredibly important, so everybody, stop what you're doing, share, repost, do whatever you can to make sure people know about this. Because something flew under the radar for a lot of people yesterday. Something that cannot be explained and does not make sense, except under certain circumstances. Yesterday, Trump signed an executive order called Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and Protect Innocent Citizens. Like most things the Republicans do, it is a misnomer and pretends that it does something it doesn't. But there's a certain section you should look at. You can pause to read this, but it says that within 90 days of the order, the Attorney General, the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of Homeland Security increase military and national security assets in local jurisdictions to assist state and local law enforcement. This literally says that within 3 months of this order being signed yesterday, the heads of these agencies are supposed to use the military for local policing. This is something that is currently already illegal under the Posse Comitatus Act. The federal government and the military cannot be used to enforce domestic policies. And as many people have pointed out already, there's only 2 ways that he can actually use this executive order to have the military do local policing. That is by somehow having Congress overturn the Posse Comitatus Act, which is never going to happen, or by him invoking the Insurrection Act and putting us under martial law. There is literally no other way that executive order would work. This is something that everybody should be alarmed about.
Let's talk about Trump's newest executive order. I posted about it previously saying it was Trump calling for martial law. I had people flooding my comments saying it's not martial law. Do you even know what martial law is? Do you know what due process is? Do you know what federal courts are? Do you know what the Constitution is? Because Trump has repeatedly attacked every single one of those things. He does not care. This administration does not care about the rule of law. It uses censorship and propaganda in so many forms to demonize and generalize groups of people to make them easier targets amongst their supporters. They have eliminated due process to imprison and deport innocent people to concentration camps, regardless of legal status. They have imprisoned and deported legal U.S. residents, work permit holders, people who have been granted asylum, people going through the legal immigration process. They have deported children who are U.S. citizens. The regime has imprisoned students for peacefully protesting the genocide they are funding and facilitating. They are labeling anyone they want a criminal or terrorist without proof, kidnapping them with no warrants, revoking visas without cause, and imprisoning them without due process, and they've begun arresting judges. I said this new executive order is a call for martial law because that's exactly what it is. The Trump regime does not adhere to the formal practices. It does not adhere to the rule of law or our system of checks and balances. This is the next step. This is the next mile they are taking after being given all kinds of inches, and they are doing it under the guise of fighting the illegal alien invasion, which is a big fucking lie. If you read the executive order, you can see that they are talking about investing in the capacity of prison. They're talking about militarizing the police, deploying military and national security assets into local jurisdictions, holding state and local officials accountable, off the tail end of arresting a judge, so we know what that means. And they're talking about prosecuting those who take part in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. If an administration is talking about prosecuting people for diversity, equity, and inclusion, you should probably infer that that administration is fucking bad. We need to understand the scope and the gravity of what all of this means and treat it as such. We can't mince words. From the guy who wants a military parade in Washington, D.C. for his birthday, when Donald Trump repeatedly says he's going to do some fascist shit, that's the only time to believe him, because that's when he's consistent. They've already invoked the Alien Enemies Act to give ICE immunity and the power to break into people's homes and kidnap them without having a warrant. They're this close to invoking the Insurrection Act. What's happening in this country is all encompassing. And if you've actually been paying attention, you'd be ringing the alarm bells too. This is not normal. This is fascism. This is not me fear-mongering, as some people call it. It's literally the exact opposite. Do not be afraid of these stupid fascists under this idiotic dictator wannabe. This is a call to preparation and organization, and a reminder to our service members to please uphold your oath to the Constitution.
President Trump has just officially declared martial law as of today, April 29th, 2025. Yesterday, he signed the executive order called Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and to Protect Innocent Civilians. This is terrifying, and nobody is talking about it except Rolling Stone magazine for some reason. Please go to whitehouse.gov, read the full text yourself, and spread this word. In summary, he declares that the military, the police, and ICE shall be unleashed into the streets of America to root out anything they declare as crime. They will be shielded from any prosecution for wrongdoing of any kind. If a civil official stands in their way, they will be prosecuted as a criminal. What this means is that no warrants will be needed by anyone. If you get murdered by ICE, that's legal. If a judge or an attorney tries to prosecute them, they will be arrested themselves. This is a state called martial law. It means that the military, the police, and ICE decide the law now. We no longer have rights. As Trump and Pam Bondi have both said, speaking out is a crime. Disagreeing with the president is a crime.
Hey, we're living in some beautiful times, man. Beautiful times. So first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahushai Ba'Hashem, Rakakwadash. Yahweh is this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the outer bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And, as you saw in the video, this guy, DJ Trump, passed an executive order that essentially is pushing forth martial law. Right, and we've been telling you guys, we've been telling the world how, the Most High Yahweh, told told his prophets that, hey, these things are coming, right? We've been talking about how civil war is coming, you know, all these famines, earthquakes, you know, terrible times. Crazy, a voice crack, but terrible times. You know, as it says in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1, it's going to be a time like never before seen, right? In Babylon, aka America, is going to fall, and we're starting to see it. So one thing that stood out is that, you know, once essentially the military, you know, starts policing the locals, that they're not going to be able to be prosecuted by no one, right? So if the military just decides to pick up a random Latino, you know, the judge can't prosecute the military for, you know, choosing the wrong person, right? They're going to prosecute the judge themselves. So what does that tell you? You know, if that tells you what I was saying earlier today and a couple of days ago about how, hey, there's a reason it's called Jacob's Trouble, right? It's not undocumented Latinos' trouble, you know, it's Jacob's trouble. So-called Latinos, Negroes, and Native Americans as a collective, right? So, hey, when Esau, you know, as it says, when the devil shall come down with great wrath, these Edomites, right, this government is not going to spare, right? They're going to be going after any Israelite out there, okay? And this is proof, right? This is proof right here how they don't need a warrant. They don't need any proof to lock you up, right? As it says in Revelation, how if they shall lock some of you in prison that you may be tried, right? The devil shall throw some of you in prison, you know, 10 days that you may be tried. Be thou faithful unto death, and I'll give thee a crown of life. Roughly paraphrasing. So we're starting to see slowly but surely how, you know, everything is unfolding just as the Lord said it would. And going through this video, I think it was the beginning, something he said that stood out is that he said that, you know, essentially what's going to happen is that Congress is going to have to revoke the Posse Comitatus law, right? And he said that, hey, Congress ain't going to do that, you know, because Congress essentially stands on business. So what's going to happen is that in order to pass this executive order, what they have to do is, you know, bring in that martial law. And that's exactly what's going to happen. But give me a second. This is exactly what's going to happen. All right, so let's get straight to the scriptures. Let's get Isaiah chapter 19 when it talks about Egypt. This is Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 2. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother. And they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Right? When it's talking about Egyptian here, it's talking about America. Right? So scriptures talk about how that great city, you know, Babylon, was spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Right? So, hey, the Lord is about to bring these Americans against each other. Okay? American against American. Okay? And brother against brother, neighbor against city, neighbor, city against city, kingdom against kingdom. Right? And that's what we're starting to see, is that division. Right? We're starting to see how everything is playing out. You know, and it's so beautiful. The fact that we have a heads up. You know, here it is, we're earnestly expecting all these things to happen. You know, we're not in the dark as I have these people. You know, we're in the light, expecting for all these prophecies to take place. You know, so when they take place, we're not going to get caught lacking. We're not going to be surprised because we've been waiting. You know, and hey, with that waiting comes preparation. But going back to the video, another thing he said that stood out is how they named it, you know, some elaborate ass title. Let me see if I can pull it up right there.
Comitatus Act, which is to have the military do local
They
policing.
named it,
That is by somehow having Congress overturn the Posse Comitatus Act.
Let me see if I could stop it perfectly. Strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. Right? And you read that, you be like, damn, you know, this is a righteous ass law. You know, hey, DJ Trump finally standing up for his people. But when you go into what it's actually saying, you know, it's a bunch of wickedness. And that's exactly, you know, how this devil operates. And when you go to Daniel chapter 5, I believe, in Daniel chapter 5 and verse Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25, it says, and through his policy, right, when you are reading about this, is talking about these Edomites here in the last kingdom. It says, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify in himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Right? And that's the point, is that through peace is how these devils are going to destroy. Right? That title sounds like peace, but when you look at the fine print, you know, everything is like that. When you look at the fine print, you know, on that carton, you know, that food you about to eat, you realize it's poison. You know, that is really meant to destroy you and, yeah, just destroy you. So, hey, these Edomites are operating on that same tip. You know, that fine print is talking about how a military personnel are gonna be out here, policing, you know, the streets, and that they don't need any authority, you know, to kick into your door to arrest you. If you get, you know, persecuted by a judge, you know, you could persecute the judge himself. He's gonna be seen as a criminal. So ultimately, what this is leading to is that, you know, the NWO, New World Order, that's what they're pushing for, is one religion, one government, and ultimately full control of the people, right? You can only say, you know, what the government wants you to say. And if you come against the government's narrative, you're a criminal, you're a terrorist, and, you know, keep on going. They want full control. And like I said, everything is playing out as it was written. You know, it says that in Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Right, and that vision is going to the prophecies. Right, there it is already written what's going to take place. We're seeing how we're at the end, and all those prophecies are speaking exactly how they've been written. It says, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Right, so though it's taking a while, seems like it's taking a while, wait, right, because it's surely going to take place. Right, every single word of the Heavenly Father is going to take place. So, hey, stay on point, you know, stay in the spirit, because we're entering times where things are about to get hectic, things are about to get chaotic, okay? And the only thing that's going to keep you stable is that faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahushua Ba'Shem, Rakakwadash. So hopefully this was edifying, a quick lesson, straight to the point. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahushua Ba'Shem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone and time of this truth. Shalom to Shalom.